we even trust social media anymore? Social media is no longer what it used to be. Trump and his minions are making sure of that. Billionaire Mark Zuckerberg is one of the most recent people to jump on the Trump train as it continues its destination into the White House. Again. Just over a week ago, the CEO of Meta sat down from his hidden lair somewhere and told the world he was going to get rid of fact checkers from Meta's platforms. This in particular will affect Instagram and Facebook. Zuckerberg's changes follow in the footsteps of fellow billionaire and CEO of X, Elon Musk, who also got rid of fact checkers for community notes. Whilst community notes can be useful from time to time, they also tend to lend a hand in the manipulation of facts that already make social media an untrustworthy space in the first place. It's someone's word, retweet, quote against the other person's. The timing of it couldn't be more obvious to rub shoulders with the president-elect Donald Trump. Zuckerberg tried. The 5-minute video of the 40-year-old billionaire trying to convince us why third-party tracking isn't a plan to get in Trump's good books was literally stupid. Like, we all saw it. We all saw it. We all know why you're doing this. The change has been a building of tension between the president-elect and the CEO. It was literally only last August, guys, when Trump wanted to throw Mark in jail, saying he deserves life in prison. And on Tuesday, a few weeks ago, relaying to Fox News that Meta had come a long way and that its presentation was excellent. Nick Clegg, who was the Deputy Prime Minister of the UK, left Meta as its head of global affairs. And instead, they welcomed former Deputy Chief of Staff to the Republican US President of George W. Bush, Joel Kaplan. It was actually under Nick Clegg's shadow when Donald Trump was banned from Facebook after riots at the US Capitol in Jan 2021, which later was overturned 2 years later with new guardrails put in place to deter him from repeat offences. I find it so funny because Trump was against Facebook. He literally said Facebook is anti-Trump. So we see what Mark's doing. Understandably, most of us won't have heard of Kaplan, but just so we understand some basics of who this man is, Kaplan has helped Meta partner up with right-wing publications when it comes to fact-checking. He also advocated for Facebook not to restrict fake news as it penalizes conservatives, and has helped many Republicans get into the key roles that we know now for their career. So we all know where his bread is buttered. It's quite clear. We know who we voted for. We know he's going to play into the hands of Trump. We, unfortunately, see the vision. We don't understand it, but we see it. Nick Clegg said about Kaplan, Joe was quite clearly the right person for the right job at the right time. Ideally placed to shape the company's strategy, societal and political expectations around technology continue to evolve. When Kaplan was policy chief, he had a sort of sway over the Meta algorithm, and he has helped shape Facebook and Instagram into what we know of them to be today. He's also played quite a big role in protecting and amplifying the site's conservative voice, which you have probably seen slowly after the last few months. Kaplan's appointment marks a strategic pivot. He seeks not only to align himself with the incoming Trump administration, but also to neutralize a potential adversary who has previously displayed open hostility toward Mark Zuckerberg personally, said by one of the advisors of the TBD firm group. And literally just last month, Kaplan joined Trump and now Vice President-elect Vance on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and in a Facebook post marked the occasion with a picture and a caption that said "Honored." Anyway, back to Mark. Interestingly, in the 5-minute video, he said that Meta would remove restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are out of touch with mainstream discourse. The topics were not mentioned by coincidence, since they are two of Trump's main campaign issues that set him apart from the Democrats, as we heard over and over again in his speeches. If anything, these topics should be discussed and handled with care online, even more sensitively. Meta hopes that these changes will share beliefs and experiences, which is ironic, as it is more likely to make it even more dangerous for women, people from ethnic minority community background, LGBTQ plus people, activists, and more to speak out, as the far right literally are swarming ready to attack. We've already seen how X users have responded to the mass activity of Elon Musk, making respectable journalists delete their account and use BS Sky instead. For many who identify liberals, this, on the world's largest platform, means that the digital world will be littered with false and misleading information. Many established journalists just said screw X and left the app. Literally, Musk has dented X's value by 72% since he joined and switched up everything. By dialing them back in, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms, Mark also said. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. This doesn't even make sense. To be fair, Meta's fact-checking system was never perfect. It was at least an attempt to engage and battle with how much power the platform has over its different social medias. But this just raises the green flag and pokes at what violence is already occurring online. This isn't about free speech as the CEO wants you to think. Everything has literally been precisely calculated. Even from the move from California to Texas, as Zuckerberg mentioned, was deliberate. The laws and politics of the Californian state, for instance, lets people with driving licenses choose a non-binary option for their gender on their license. In comparison to Texas, where care for transgender minders and gender-affirming help is banned. It's not a coincidence that Musk moves X's headquarters to Texas from California, similarly with SpaceX and Tesla. You have California, where its governor, Gavin Newsom, has pledged to defend healthcare providers who perform out-of-state abortions. Then on the other side, you have Texas, which implemented a 6-week abortion ban in 2021 before Roe v. Wade was overruled. A change in location where its politics heavily differentiate will be by no doubt determine what will be deemed as acceptable or an offence when it comes to Meta's social media. Those who work at Meta will change from those who may have argued against harmful and controversial content to those who may be less likely to speak up. The environment is just as important, as these changes may not have been successful could it be in a place that is biased against Meta's new ways. The CEO said, Europe is a place with an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative. And Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. In other words, on their grounds, they wouldn't stand for it. Yes, for those who haven't forgotten the power of algorithms, what is seen is still mostly based on an algorithm level. But now that Meta will become a free-for-all, that means that it's likely one will be more prone to scroll through media that doesn't really align with them, or end up using the mute option way more frequently. Trump has been clear that he believes the media is the enemy of the people. So this decision was not a new idea. It goes hand in hand with this new political era right on our doorstep. Trump is knocking, Musk is attending, and Zuckerberg wants to make sure he and Meta don't get left behind. The 40-year-old has now grounded his empire in a view that aligns with the new administration. Misinformation will seemingly seep through the cracks of social media, where people will ask themselves, can I trust this source? The very people, i.e. journalists, will find it even harder to do their job, to trust their sources and have their posts believed. The video seemingly ends with Zuckerberg trying to mask his plan with a smile for the new change. And if that wasn't enough, then a few days after that, it's announced that Meta Platforms and Amazon will be cutting back on their efforts when it comes to diversity and inclusion. Meta and Amazon are the only companies putting this decision in place, but other companies such as McDonald's have also started withdrawing back on diversity, equity, and inclusion after it was announced Donald Trump was going back in office. As the Trump train has been taking on board companies that are adapting to his administration. Trump has been quite vocal about opposing woke agendas. Therefore, this change in workplace is just reminding us of the tornado coming to the office once Trump sits back down. Oh, guys, I can't. But now that companies are getting rid of these schemes, groups of people who would already face prejudice and discrimination in the workplace now face a barrier of even getting their foot in the door. This decision does not affect the ones who made it, but instead the ones who need it the most. In a lot of ways, traditional companies built their organizations on outdated ideals and ways of thinking that would have isolated everyone who wasn't white, heterosexual, or able. These schemes force them, if not to wake up, but to hire people who don't look like, sound like, or even think like them. Janelle Gale, Vice President of Human Resources, said the term DEI has also become charged, in part because it is understood by some as a practice that suggests preferential treatment of some groups of others. So to break it down, what she's saying is that people who benefited from these programs the most will no longer have preferential treatment than their white counterparts. But this is kind of silly, because if the working world was as equal as we'd like to think, then there'd be no need for these schemes in the first place. I should know. The job market is hard enough, and it seems like it's getting worse. The idea that I had to get in a scheme, despite being already qualified on my own, made me even question if that would be something I have to do my entire life. Would there ever be a time where I didn't need a scheme to get my foot in the door? I was one of 4 Black women in a place of work that had hundreds of people. I've been the only Black woman in other offices, and it makes you wonder if you're the only one seeing the problem with the lack of diversity. These schemes are a necessity. It forces workplaces to reject the traditional workplace that would have once rejected me. There can be power in being the only one, but the weight of what you represent shouldn't have to fall on your shoulders. You shouldn't have to be the token to get through. Having a lack of diversity at work and a place that offers a safe space means people are forced to carve out things on their own, which sometimes doesn't last as long, has to rely on other funding, such as the amazing Galdem. Galdem was amazing. It made underrepresented voices actually have a say, and they actually paid their writers. So yeah, I miss Galdem. I literally fear that when companies start getting rid of their own DI schemes, they're basically telling us that they never really cared about it in the first place, and that it was clearly something to get ticked off their checklist. Slowly, we now run the risk of transforming what had the potential to be a modern and safe space into a traditional occupation that has outdated ideals that are out of touch with the diverse cultures we experience on our streets. It's very clear that some of the most powerful companies in the world want Trump as an ally, but the decision making will affect us the most. The internet, well, social media is not just a place where we'll be able to jump on and see what's on the timeline. Everything we'll see will be calculated. It won't be fun. The fun on social media is over. That's it. For the rest of us, those who use social media for our jobs, journalists whose existence relies on reporting accurate news, those who want a safe space are in for a bumpy ride as the Trump train is on the way, taking more passengers for a politically new era. But what do you think about Zuckerberg's new decision? Do you think getting rid of fact checkers is a good idea? Are you here for community notes? What do you also think about getting rid of diversity schemes? Are you here for it? Are you not? Do you think they're a waste of time anyway? Or do you actually think that we need diversity schemes? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm Serena the Journalist. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back next week.